so that the biggest advantage is it puts all those things in one package. You no longer have to worry about off-target movement from dicamba from your corn or a neighboring field, because you have that protection, and it gives you the ability to spray dicamba hopefully in season if we get the label back, which we can talk about that in a minute too.
Today we've got an excellent episode for you today. We are joined by Will Cornelius, who's our soybean lead and one of the co-owners of Cornelius Seed. Now, we all know that soybeans over the last year have really taken it on the chin, from trade deals with China to other markets not coming through. And so we're excited to kind of sit down with you today and give you an update from a recent industry meeting we were at, to provide just some positive news as to what's coming down the pipeline and some other things behind the scenes. But anyways, welcome, Will.
Glad to be here. It's been a while.
It has, no, definitely, and it was absolutely timely. So, it's been a while, Steve. If you can just do a quick recap as to just what the role is as a company now, because I know it's kind of shifted a little bit since we last met.
You're talking my role specifically? Yeah. So wear many hats as usual in a small business, but primarily, especially as this part of the year pertains to a soybean lead. So my current job is taking a look at all the new genetics that we have access to. Being independent, we've got access to the entire industry's worth of genetics. We're not locked into one pipeline, which is great because we are able to offer all the traits, and that's one thing we're going to talk about. So I spent a lot of time doing that, look at new treatments, any other biologicals for soybeans, and then put our production plan together so we make sure we have high quality seed to sell to the farmers for 2027.
Thank you for that. And so, we can just jump straight to it. So about a couple weeks ago, we were in Indianapolis for an industry meeting, also known as the Independent Seed Professional Association, or IPSA. And at the front end of it, we had an opportunity to sit in on a Syngenta meeting. And so we all know the pipeline right now is heavy on one camp offering Enlist, and the other camp is Extend Flex. And so with uncertainty of what's going to happen with that label, it was refreshing to see some options coming down. So if you can kind of lead us into that.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Syngenta, they're one of our suppliers on not just soybean genetics, but also corn genetics, treatments, et cetera, et cetera. And we do really utilize Syngenta on our seed treatment side of the business. To me, they're the best in the biz. And they've been on a roll these last decade, really, between Sultro and Viantis and Vyconic, or not Vyconic, but Victrato, which we're going to talk about. I mean, so they're a really great partner. And genetics-wise, they've got some good things offered as well, both on the Extend Flex side of things and the E3 side of things. And I think Vyconic might be in their future also.
So what is, we've got two prominent trait stacks. Obviously, we've got also a conventional organic soybean offering, but we've got the Enlist camp, which would be, what's that, resistant 2,4-D?
Yep, 2,4-D, Roundup, Liberty.
And then Extend Flex, which would be the dicamba camp, right? And Roundup as well.
Yep.
What does Syngenta have coming down the pipeline, and what does it look like?
Yeah, so Syngenta does have something down the road in their pipeline. It's a little ways off yet. We're not really sure what the timeline is, but it's called FG72, and they're going to stack that with the E3 platform that we're familiar with, and it's going to bring some HPPD tolerance, so another tool to use against weeds. So excited to see that. It's still relatively new to us, so we're just kind of keeping tabs on it, but we'll definitely be coming with more information once we know more here as the years go by.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think it's just kind of our goal, right? And a lot of these that we put together is sharing information with our growers as it's hot off the press. And so we've all seen these news before where there might be a new trait stack coming out. We've got it's out in 5 years, but it's really 10. And so, anyways, it's what's lovely about it is just another option, and competition's good. And I think that's what's excellent with that. So speaking of options, quick segue still on the soybean topic, but we value greatly the treatment platform that Syngenta brings to our company, and we go pretty all in as it comes to the corn side with the Pythium control that we get with Viantis. You recently midstream made a switch to offer something new here in house. Tell us about that, Victrato.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the hit it on the nose. Syngenta's got some of the best products out there, and we've been have a very tight relationship with them as a supplier because we do think they bring the best thing for the farmer. And because of that tight relationship, we were able to bring out a brand new product very short notice here for 2026. It's called Victrato. I mean, it got its launch here just late this fall, and a lot of companies, especially bigger companies, aren't going to be able to make that shift in season, but we did. We made it an offer to our customers, and it's huge. I mean, it's a game changer for not only improving SDS, it improves foliar resistance to some of those foliar fungicides like target spot or excuse me, or frog eye or septoria brown spot. But the biggest thing is red crown rot, and that's huge.
Yeah, I was just recently at a ISU there for AI and robotics and whatnot, but absorbed some there on how just that red crown rot there, just really exploding. It's really moving up into what we'd say Cornelius country, and so we've got our platform of treatment we've got our what we call Profit Guard PG, and then we have Profit Guard Plus. Is Victrato a third offering? What's your approach with that?
Yeah, so our approach for 26 was basically just to have it be an additional SKU for us, a third option. I think going into 27, we're probably going to retire the Profit Guard Plus we currently have and bring Victrato into that Profit Guard Plus package. But for this year, we've got 3 different options. Basically, Profit Guard Victrato has everything Profit Guard Plus has and more. But we didn't want to take anything away from somebody this year that already committed to Profit Guard Plus. We just wanted to be an additional option. And we had quite a few guys that are super interested about it and made a change. And we have a number of guys that are doing a on-farm trial, which we're fully in support of. We believe Syngenta's data, they've always been trustworthy from that perspective. But we're also big believers in, trust but verify and do it on your own farm. So we've got a handful of trials going out in all of Cornelius country across east, west, north, south, where we're going to put Profit Guard Plus, and Profit Guard Victrato all in the same field and see what the difference is.
That's awesome, especially because I know that our team just worked on a performance update for our website for the plot page. So it'll be another avenue of information that we can bring to growers, right? Not just your traditional plots, but also. Is that door closed? Is there still an opportunity for people listening that if they want to get in on a trial?
Yeah, if you're the analytical type of farmer that has the ability to do large-scale side-by-sides into your farm, whether it's block trial or splitting a large planter, as long as you can get that combine swath down in between that planter swath, so we have a true representation of harvesting the 2 treatments independent of each other, then yeah, reach out to your DSM or reach out to me at the office and we can hook you up with that. And there are some incentives to that as well. But the big thing we want to do is be able to get out to it, take photos, take drone shots, measure the stand counts, measure the yield at the end of the day and see what we really have. And I think, and the one thing I didn't talk about is nematode protection. It's not just soybean cyst nematode, but it's multi-species nematicide as well that comes with Victrato. So that's something that I was amiss to not bring up here just a second ago, but that could be a game changer for people that have, or if you're running out of tools to combat SCN or other nematodes in general, this is another tool in the toolbox to help.
That's awesome. That's what I enjoy this landscape for independent companies, particularly us, right? But we've used this analogy a lot before, where you've got the big boat and the speedboat, and the speedboat can pivot instantly to something new, right? And you guys are very analytical. I know you do a lot of testing in these acres back here too, but it's nice to see that it's going to get spread out across Cornelius country, God's country right there. People want to see that data, that yield data. Mm-hmm. Anything else that you want to make sure we hit on for Victrato? I think we beat that horse pretty good.
No, I think if you haven't heard of Victrato, definitely look into it. Talk to your salesman, talk to the office, whoever you need to. We can provide you more information. I think it's worth it. It is going to come with a little bit of a premium price, and I'm hoping a year from now it'll be a little bit closer to where we're at with Profit Guard Plus. But being a brand new product, short notice, it is a little bit more premium. But I think it's worth it, especially if you have red crown rot, and that's something we didn't talk about a lot. But red crown rot primarily is growing out of central Illinois, and Cornelius country kind of flirts with that area, and we do have some customers that are down there that are dealing with it, and it's a big deal. It can take up to 50% of your yield away in the worst case scenarios, and obviously that's significant. And if this suppresses it, it's the only treatment labeled to suppress rod crud route is Victrato. There's nothing else on the market that's labeled for it at this point. So we are really in the catbird seat as far as that goes, being on the cutting edge of this technology. But if you look at if you pull up the disease tracker map, it's not just in central Illinois. There's actually a county in Wisconsin. There's a county in southwest Minnesota. There's no counties in Iowa yet identified, but I got to think it's there somewhere.
Is it one of those things where it's easy to confuse with something else, though?
So the foliar symptoms are probably the most confusing. So they look a lot like SDS or brown stem rot. You're going to see that kind of necrosis of the leaf, the tiger stripe, as some people like to say, where that leaf starts to turn brown and yellow and die. And when you drive by it at the road, you're like, oh, something's wrong out there, but I'm not quite sure what. That must be SDS or that must be whatever. So the only way to really go out and identify it visually without sending it into a lab is get into the field, pull up some roots, split the stem. Okay, is the pith brown? That's probably brown stem rot. If it's not brown, that's probably SDS. But if you're in a red crown rot area, you look right at the surface where the stem goes into the dirt, and right above that there will be red pustules. Is the easiest way, and I'm not guaranteeing they're going to be there, but that's usually the visual way to identify it.
Oh darn, that's it's always fascinating. I mean, you talk about all the hats you wear, and then just to hear you just rattle off all these things, it's fascinating.
I mean, in addition to Syngenta, there's some really great stuff coming that's a little closer to being here. So HT4, which is now known as Vyconic, which is stacking that 2,4-D and that Dicamba together, which is what people have been asking for years, is finally coming. We're actually looking at varieties in the field. That's part of my job, is to go out and evaluate these. So they look like beans, which is good, and we always joke about that when a new technology comes out and you go look at it, it's like, oh, they look like beans. But realistically, that is good because it means you're not noticing a difference. You're not noticing any phenotypic issues. It's a good thing. And when you see diversity in the field too, most fields you go to, you're like, oh, it's tawny brown or it's light tan or it's gray or whatever. But unless you see it in a plot setting, you don't appreciate how much different those are. And to me, what that means is there's genetic diversity within that population. So if you did have a disease come in like red crown rot, that maybe a subset of that population is more susceptible or less, you can hopefully find those and not all be limited to the same genetic pool.
That's absolutely so. So tell us about that more. Vyconic. It's when can our growers see it, and what's that looking like, and how is that different from the Extend Flex platform, and do you see that getting retired? I know I threw like 3 or 4 questions.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. My hope originally was that maybe we'd be growing Vyconic in 26 for sales in 27, but obviously the wheels of government don't move that quickly. And between government shutdowns and other things that have happened recently, I don't think that helped the equation either. So it's looking like a 28 launch. So for 26, so this summer, hopefully we'll have some actual seed that maybe we can have in a regulated plot, so we can actually look at it again, make sure they look like beans. And then for 27, we'd be growing that seed for parent seed to sell in 28. So in a large scale launch, it's looking like 28 for Joe Farmer out there. And that, it can't get here soon enough for anybody that's dealing with multiple weed issues or is tired of dicamba drifting onto their enlist beans or vice versa. So that the biggest advantage is it puts all those things in one package. You no longer have to worry about off-target movement from dicamba from your corn or a neighboring field, because you have that protection, and it gives you the ability to spray dicamba hopefully in season if we get the label back, which we can talk about that in a minute too. But you still got that 2,4-D, you still got the Roundup, you still got the Liberty, so you get 4 plus. There's a 5th one in there too, which is Misotrione. So there's 5 actually. It's called HT. It used to be called HT4, but there was actually 5 herbicides, and now it's called Vyconic. So, and then shortly behind that is HT6, which takes all 5 of those and adds an additional PPO resistance, which we're talking 2030, 2031, 32, somewhere early 2030s before we really see that come out. Back to your other question of how quickly are we going to see Vyconic take over the market? I think fairly quickly, honestly. I mean, we've got some really great mature lineups for both Extend, Flex, and Enlist. But by putting those all together, as long as the agronomics and the yield is there, which everything I've seen shows it should be, almost any time we bring out a new trait platform, you're going to take a few step backs, whether it's, you don't maybe have the bean that yields at this at a 2.4, or you don't have a or a brown stem rot gene at a 2.7. There's little things like that you might not have, but the yield appears to be there across the board. It's probably one of the best launches that I've seen, right up there with the Enlist launch. So I think we're gonna have a full lineup right off the bat going into 28. And I wouldn't be surprised if it takes half the market in the first year.
Oh, wow. Well, that pendulum swings always right from left to right. And so you touched a little bit about the Dicamba label, and I know that you don't have your crystal ball here with you right now. But the last time you shook that thing, what are you hearing? I mean, I know it's tough to tell, but
it's again frustrating. You're dealing with government, and there's only so many things we can control. We've been hearing that we're gonna get a revised, updated, over-the-top label for Dicamba for Extend Flex beans and Vyconic going forward over the winter in 25, 26. So we're through fourth quarter, we're into first quarter of 26. We're pushing the end of January here and still no news. As early as this week, I reached out to my contacts and they said, well, we don't know anything yet, but we don't know anything negative either. So hopefully no news is good news, and still, hopefully here in February, maybe we get something, some news. And hopefully the best news is not only do we get over the top, but the restrictions on spray will be revised in a way that makes them more usable. Our previous label was basically saying by X date, you will no longer spray Dicamba, which is good and bad. You can debate that either way, but realistically, it's the conditions in the field that make the difference. It's the humidity level, it's the temperature, it's the wind speed. Those are the things that affect off-target movement and efficacy of your herbicide. So you really should be looking at those, not an arbitrary date on the calendar.
Yeah.
And if you have a cooler summer or a hotter summer, that's going to change that equation. Or if you have a heat wave come through and this week is just not good, but then it cools off and then you're back in the 70s, by all means, let's go use our tools in our toolbox to help protect our field.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right. There's too many variables in there to just draw that simple line, and so, I mean, it's just really cool. We've talked about the big three genetic suppliers out there, and again, right, the ability to pivot and to offer a tool to our growers, and even then if something does or doesn't happen with that label, right, like. We've got product there to help folks if need be. Is there anything else that we're missing there?
I wouldn't say we're missing anything. Just as we talk about the greater scope and we talk about our large suppliers on genetics, there's a couple other traits that are coming down the market too. Vyconic's the big one that we're excited about in the short term, but from BASF and Corteva, there's also Nemosphere, which has kind of been talked about for a while. That's going to be a BT trait for nematodes, essentially. So again, back to do we know if we have nematode pressure or not? A lot of farmers really don't, but if you're hitting that yield ceiling and you can't figure out why can't I raise 60 bushel beans, they're always 55 or less, that may be part of the equation. Do you know if you have nematodes? And even if you know if you have nematodes on one side of the field, doesn't mean you don't have them on the other side or vice versa. So that'll be interesting. They're talking about that same trait timeline for launch of that, maybe 28, to get that out to farmers. I haven't seen a lot of that one in the field myself yet, but they're definitely working on it, trying to figure out how to bring it out. And then they're also working on a PPO resistant herbicide akin to HT6 for the Bayer side of things. So there'll be similar options there. It's amazing how things kind of come out in pairs, whether you think about when movies come out, there's a volcano movie and a volcano movie. There's a race car movie and a race car movie. It's like in the trait world, it's like, oh, well, we've got this. So do we.
But this is why competition is beautiful and good, right? I mean, it is. I see this a lot in the AI space, and right when I'm all in on one tool, here comes another one just completely raising the bar, and that's what I'm hearing you say is from BASF to Corteva to Bayer to Syngenta, right? Everybody's in there kind of doing something, and then you're going through there and sifting out what is really of value to our growers, what is really of value to our footprint, and then bringing that in instantly or in the middle of the season. That's awesome.
So from a trade perspective, I think that's what we need to know for now, and we're on it. We're working as fast as we can to bring stuff to you. We're keeping an eye on the treatments. We're keeping an eye on the biologicals. It's more in my brother's space, so he's really keeping tabs on that. But outside of traits and treatment, we've had a lot of excitement around conventionals and organic beans too. That's a space that we've always kind of dabbled in, but not really took off in a big way. But with commodity prices being depressed, you mentioned earlier about, it's not a great time for soybeans right now, or corn for that matter, just based on global pressures and trade and all the things. Guys are looking for ways to save money, both corn and soybeans. And if they say, well, can I get by with a herbicide program without needing these resistant traits? Can I do it with conventionally? Can I go back to mechanical weed control and get the same yields? There's guys trying all kinds of things right now. So conventionals has really shot up for us. And it's something and the cool thing about that is there's genetic sources there that are way broader than there are for the trait world. I mean, we've got some great genetic providers for traits that do a great job, but the number almost triples when you talk about where I can source genetics from when we just go to base conventional non-GMO beans or gene-edited beans. That's a whole other thing. But the non-traditional non-GMO, as we call them, there's beans being bred right here in Iowa that are awesome. I'm bringing them out, and it's exciting. Right where they need to be, bred for Cornelius country. And that's something I'm excited about. And then on akin to that, the organic beans, there's definitely premiums as we live in a world where we want to provide choice, and the farmers are going to do what makes financial sense for them. Well, there's a premium for organic beans, but they need beans that can produce and be viably not only economically, but also agronomically. They have to get the job done. And there's a very limited pool of genetics that check those boxes. So one thing I'm actively pursuing is how do we find more options for these guys? Because a common thing I hear in the organic or the conventional world is, well, everybody's got the same thing. Everybody's got the same thing. Well, it's not exactly true. Like our 2.3, no one else has. We are the only one that has that bean in our footprint in Cornelius country. You're not going to get it from somebody else. And it's got the yield to get it done. Is it a specialty trait? No, but it's got plain yield. It's a right maturity for our footprint, and it's exciting. So I think that's something that the word's still getting out about it. So if you're hearing about it for the first time now and you're a conventional grower, you need to jump on it because it's a darn good bean.
But really just what I'm hearing is whether it's traits or genetics or even treatment packages, there's a lot to be excited about, either coming out right now or down the road. Thank you, Will. Thank you very much for your time for getting out there. If folks want to reach out to you, find you on our website or get a hold of one of the salesmen, any last thoughts?
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Always fun to talk about beans and get the word out there. And I think, again, if you're interested in conventional beans or organic beans, we are someone that can be a supplier for you. We haven't got quite as big a name as some of our competitors yet, but we're bringing the same quality control as we do with traded beans in the non-traded. So I think that's going to set us apart there, just as it has in the E3 and Extend Flex platform too.
Are you still, what's unique about us and our soybeans is that you label them at 93% germ. Are you still doing that with them?
Absolutely, yeah, and oftentimes they're higher than that too.
Wow. Do the math, folks. That 3% might not seem like a lot, but across a lot of acres, it adds up. So, wow, that's awesome. Well, you guys heard it here. Thank you for listening, and we appreciate your time. And until the next one.